Peace, everyone. It's BlackHighPriestess. Um, I wanted to check in with you guys. I wanted to talk to witches about something, and this is entitled "Be the One That Be the One That Got Away, Not the One He Got to Stay." Um, so I wanted to, I guess, kind of deliver a message, but also talk a little bit about psychology, and I want to talk to witches about differentiating yourself from women in your actions and your behaviors with men, and differentiating yourself from satanic witches, and understanding that a witch has the gift of enchantment. And while it is tempting to use spiritual gifts to control others and to do certain spells and certain um new age forms of craft that is really kind of satanic, in anything that is taking away someone's free will, and that is, targeting someone. And while, praying for something to get better, or for someone to get better, or for a situation with someone to have a certain result, um praying and even in ways kind of meditating on things to receive with more wisdom and insight and guidance. um and again, there's a quote that prayer is speaking to God, meditation is listening to God. um while those things, can show faith, when you take it upon yourself to cast spells on people, um you're getting into conjuring, which involves other spirits. And in the spiritual climate that we're in, there's a lot of testing that needs to be done for whether a spirit is genuinely ancestral and holy. And it's not hard to tell holy spirit from an unclean spirit. And I talk about differentiating the word demonic and replacing that with unclean spirit to get a clear idea of whether something is satanic or not. Um, and to steer away from associating something ancestral or something African spiritual with something demonic, because it is demonized throughout history and colonialism. The best way to differentiate is whether something is clean or unclean, which is the more old age and biblical scriptural term, unclean spirits. And I want witches to understand that our gifts are should not be casted, our pearls should not be casted before swine. And I want witches to differentiate yourself from women who do satanic crafts and use satanic magic and witchcraft to have outcomes or control situations, to have a result that they want, because they're not getting the result that they want. And a witch is gifted with enchantment, where you are going to naturally attract things to you, and that means good and bad. And I want witches to differentiate yourself and how you deal with men by by really understanding how men harvest female energy, and how men and warlocks alike um can how can I say that, can really drain a woman that he's not evenly yoked with. And when you are a witch and when you are gifted, it is very important to make sure you are mating with someone who is you're evenly yoked with, and you are mating with someone who will allow you to maintain or improve your lifestyle as a witch and a gifted woman. And that is going to look very different than human women who are here for procreation, who are not here with spiritual authority, with spiritual responsibilities, that are answering that call in their lifestyle, that are taking on a leadership position spiritually and answering that call to help and elevate humanity with those gifts. Now, if you're a man watching this, and this message is more for women, but if you are a man, if you are a warlock who is watching this, my message to you, because this upload is going to be for women, but my message to you as a man with masculine responsibilities, as a warlock, because this is for witches, and this is about the spiritual climate and differentiating yourself when it comes to men. And if you're a warlock, I want you to understand the woman you choose, the witch you choose, the counterpart that you choose is a reflection of you and will ruin your life. And I say that because I see on earth the majority of men are choosing women who make them look bad. And it shows that it shows how lazy men have become in their role as a man, that they do not want to meet the standard of manhood to be with a powerful woman. And your beauty is your power as a woman. And when you are a witch and you are gifted with power, which comes in the form of beauty, sometimes it comes in the form of being born into wealth responsibilities. But beauty is a enormous responsibility for a woman. And that's why very few women have it. And beauty is universal. It is not pretty, it's not cute. Beauty is when no matter what race or demographic or even features, anyone can look at you and recognize your power and your beauty. It is not according to your region or your race or your communal standards. It is beyond the standards of any particular region or circumstance. So when you are a woman who's gifted, when you're a witch, and you have beauty and you have power, it is so important that you have the dignity to prove your power is real and bloodborne and not something artificial, superficial, or satanic. And what a satanic woman will do is she will look for the validation that she is not getting, because she is not what she wants to be validated for. She would get the validation for being beautiful, for being powerful, for being sexy, for being for being chosen. She would get the validation if that's who she was. And I need people to understand you have to look in the mirror and accept who you are. And if you don't like it, it is your responsibility to change it. And you get the results of the decisions that you make. And when you decide to eat unhealthy, you will get those physical results. And your lifestyle will become that of somebody who chooses not to eat healthy, who chooses not to work out, who chooses not to set a high standard for the type of people they associate themselves with. And if you are gifted, it is imperative that your dignity proves that you are naturally gifted. Because if it's artificial, the first form of validation you get, you will throw it all away for that one form of validation. So again, if you are a warlock watching this, the woman you choose will ruin your life. So it is your responsibility as a warlock to be at your optimal form of masculinity, physical form, mental form, spiritual form, and emotional form, financial as well, which is last for a reason. Because when everything else is aligned, everything else will align. And if you are not born into wealth, you need to enhance whatever form of wealth you have, whether it's physical, fitness, you need to maintain that and enhance that. If you have good looks that make you more powerful than other people who don't have them, you need to enhance that and you need to utilize that. And remember, use it or lose it. And if you don't use your gifts, other people will try to find a way to use them for you. And that's where this comes into, which is differentiating yourself with the type of man you deal with. But again, if you are a warlock watching this, it's your responsibility to be at your optimal form of masculinity so you can actively choose the most beautiful, meaning the most powerful woman who is actually your equal, instead of being lazy and choosing a woman who takes away your power because she is not beautiful. And the amount of men who are actively choosing to be with women who are ugly, who are actually ugly, who are not in shape, who are out of shape. And if you like a woman of a bigger shape, that's not that does not necessarily equate to liking a woman who is out of shape. You can have a bigger, a thicker body shape. Everyone doesn't have to be like Swedish model skinny. Everyone doesn't have to meet a certain standard. But when it comes to beauty for a man, if you're not choosing beautiful women, if you're not choosing beautiful women, because there was a time where obesity, what is now obese, was considered a sign of a beauty or a standard of beauty because it represented wealth. Because obese women did not work and they were pale because they did not work in the field. And now that's not a standard of beauty. But and especially now that with the liberal agenda, now whiteness is being pushed aside for something that looks slightly more ethnic but not too African. But whiteness is being pushed aside. So that just goes to say again, the standards of beauty, when it comes to obesity, have changed over time, culturally. But as a man, if you're not choosing beautiful women, if you are with a woman who is not beautiful, there's something wrong with you. And you are probably under a spell, and you probably have a parasite. And, but spiritually, you are telling God you are forfeiting the responsibility of a man. And this is what most men on planet Earth are doing. And as a warlock, if you're listening to this, because this message is for women, but if you're as a warlock and you're listening to this, you need to be single and child free and healthy and fit at an optimal level. And if you're 60 and you're not married, that's how you need to be as a warlock. That's your optimal masculinity. And if you choose a woman, she has to be a reflection of you. She has to be powerful. She has to be fit. She has to be attractive. And you can lie to yourself, and you can lie to the woman by choosing her as if she is beautiful enough to be chosen when there's other women who are more beautiful than her. You can lie to her by choosing her. And you can lie to yourself and say, oh, I'm choosing her for this reason or that reason. But you can't lie to other people who look and see that you've forfeited your masculinity by choosing an ugly woman, choosing a woman who you do not have to protect and provide for, choosing a woman who is going to put you at your worst in life because you don't want to reach a higher standard. So I'm letting you all know right now, as a warlock, you want to be with an out of shape, ugly woman with low hygiene, that most men, the type of women most men are choosing, and a woman with a bad attitude who is not feminine and and humble in public. um you are letting you're sending a message to society, to the universe, and to your God, that you do not want the responsibilities of manhood. And that is what you're going to receive in life. No one will respect you. No one will look to you to lead them as a man, which means you're not going to be paid a good wage. um you and you're going to get the worst out of life. You're not going to get the finer things in life when you choose to be with an ugly woman. And so as a warlock, it's your responsibility to remain single, to not procreate with a woman who is not your equal, or to actively choose a woman who was a reflection of how you feel about yourself and your God. And when you do not choose a beautiful woman, you're spitting in the face of your God, who gave you a gift and a responsibility. You're saying you don't want it, and God will take it away and give it to a man. And you will see that happen before your eyes, by a man who you despise getting the most beautiful woman that you were too weak to choose because you did not want to meet a higher standard. And it will happen in front of your face. If you spit in the face of God by forfeiting your gift as a warlock and a divine spiritual warrior, by choosing an ugly woman. And I want to say this, and this is for witches and warlocks, but this goes for warlocks too, and this is goes for masculine responsibilities. Because When it comes, I'm gonna get to the witches in a second. But if you're a man watching this, because this upload is not for warlocks. But one last thing I want to say, and one last message. One of the biggest signs, and I'm not necessarily saying it's the number one sign, but I'm saying it is a big glaring sign of low moral character in a man and in a warlock. The biggest, a big sign, not the number one, not the main thing, but a big huge sign of a low moral character in a warlock and a man is interracial dating, interracial marriage. Why do I say this? I would say nine times out of 10, a man who chooses a woman of another race is not meeting the standards of the women of his own race. He is not meeting the standards of masculinity of the women of his own race. So he is going with a woman of another race that he can impress because the standards of masculinity are different in that race. So, speaking to Black women, understand that um, a lot of other races they do not approve of dating Black women. They do not like it. They don't approve of it. And when a lot of times white men will go to a Black woman when he is not financially meeting the standards of the women of his race, when he or when his low moral character, a lot of white men that are whoremongers who have a sexual deviancy and cannot settle down and get married, which is the standard in white society and in European society. All right. It is European society is not African society where the standard is for a man to be polygamous and have a bunch of wives and the woman to be polygynous and have a bunch of husbands and everybody's fucking each other like bonobo, chimpanzee, apes. That's an African standard. All right, that's not a European standard. So when a European um heritage man goes to a African heritage woman, a lot of times it is a form of sexual deviancy. Um, and I want Black women to understand that. And sexual deviancy doesn't just stop at I'm going to pay women as strippers, because that's a lot of white men. They see you as um, a sexual object. And because they have a sexual deviancy where they can't settle down and get married with a woman, which is per the standard in their race, or they cannot either afford, or there's some type of other mental thing, or there's some type of thing with them where they socially cannot settle down and get married, and have kids, or afford to have a family and have and do that. um the What I'm trying to say is, a lot of times the sexual deviancy, it doesn't just stop at um them seeing you as seeing you as a sex object, or seeing you as a sex object, or seeing you as something to degrade, because it's easier to degrade you as a Black woman who comes from a culture of being raped from colonialism and slavery. So it's easier to sexually degrade you. And a lot of times it is women who come from slavery and colonialism and poverty who end up being strippers and prostitutes and end up being sex workers. And so these white men, they go with the little bit of money that they have because they can afford a sex worker, but they can't afford to marry a white woman. Remember these things. All right. So, sisters, I want you to understand the sexual deviancy doesn't just stop at paying for sex because you're not man enough to marry a woman and start a family, or at least just have a committed romance through marriage that is holy matrimony, which will be a witch and a warlock, who are again not necessarily here to procreate, but here to establish spiritual authority and spiritual centrality for humanity to elevate, or spirit temple space for humanity to elevate through teachings, or through, what could be considered church and certain other things, but ancient form of church, which is two or more gathering, in God's name. But not to deviate from that, what I am trying to say is, a lot of times the sexual deviancy in these white men does not stop at I'm willing to go go pay a woman who is oppressed and to degrade her because I can't afford to marry and elevate and be with a woman of my own race. So I'm going to degrade a woman of another race who's already oppressed and already in a degraded situation. But a lot of times these men have complete sexual deviancy, which will lead with which deals with pedophilia and deals with some other kinks. So a lot of times it can look like they have a fetish for black women, or and sometimes they don't always openly fetishize it, but a lot of times you'll see these white men, and it's one thing when a white man comes from poverty and he himself is white trash, and so he actually was raised around a predominantly black community, and that is his that's the culture he grew up in because he is a white person from poverty. Same way with a black people from wealth. There are black people who genuinely are from wealth and genuinely grew up, um or some in some cases, like in my case, who got opportunities to get into better situations that were predominantly white because that's where the resources were. And but there are black people who come from wealth and who genuinely grew up around white people and grew up with the standards of wealth, and that's generally what they're used to. um but for all intents and purposes, that's something for black women to understand. um a lot of times when a man is short, when he's shorter than the standard of his race, he will go for Asian and Mexican women who tend to be shorter. And a lot of times men of other races who are shorter than the women of their race, will go for races of women who are typically shorter. Again, not meeting a certain standard of your own race. Um, um, White women, um, a lot of times black men, you could say black or brown men, but a lot of times black men who typically come from slavery and colonialism and oppression will go for white women, um, to have an easier life, to hide behind her social privilege because he's afraid, he's inferior. He'll go for a white woman who he can hide behind, and she can serve as kind of like a slave master, like a protection, like someone to vouch for him in life. Um, you know, um, when he does not actually have the money or the class, meaning the education, and the dignity to be around white people without fucking it up. When he himself cannot impress white people, he will look for a white woman to do it for him. When he himself is not educated enough to make a certain amount of money, he will pursue a white woman who he sees as financially stable or socially stable or at a certain social status, and and leech off of her status and let her status vouch for him as a Negro. So, a lot of a lot of times you will a lot of times you'll see black men pursuing white women because black women are a lot more educated, way more educated than black men. Um, and a lot of black men are actually really not um, as rough and tough as the ones who end up in jail and everything. A lot of black men are afraid of white men. And his choice to be with the white woman shows that he's scared of white men. He's scared of being in this world where he has an internal fear of being lynched. And that white woman is his protection from having to confront racism. He cannot confront racism head on, which means he cannot protect a black woman from white masculinity. So he hides behind a white woman. And a lot of white women, you're getting with black men, and you're getting with a man who is inferior. He lives in fear. And that's why black women are not impressed by him. It's not because he's too nerdy. It's not because he talks like a white boy, or likes to play video games or likes anime. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times it's not because he's even ugly, and you'll see a lot of black men get with white women, because they're considered ugly and this that. Black women, there are ugly black women who will get with ugly black men, and they'll be ugly together. A lot of times it's not because he's too dark or he's too ugly. He's not showing up. These black women do not have faith in his ability to lead her or protect her. He's showing that when he goes out in public, he cannot confront white masculinity in the face and defeat it. And so he will get with white women because you white women, you see black men as a sex symbol. You see him as a sexual object. And he will sling his dick in order to not have to be a man in life. And in Asian women, and I'm not trying to stereotype, but a lot of men of all races who, again, like I said, short men, short also in the penis department, will go for Asian or Mexican. And I'm not saying Latin women have a lot more European in them than people are willing to talk about. All right, Latin is European, with maybe usually with a little Caribbean or coastal mixture of sorts, all colonialism. But Mexican, or some Asian, communities or tribes where people tend to be a little shorter naturally. Men who may have penises that do not meet the standard of the women in their race, may go for races of women that they feel or believe are smaller, or will accept a smaller penis size. So again, um, if you're a warlock, the it's your responsibility to choose a woman that reflects how you feel about your God, your gifts, yourself. And to women of other races, especially women who come from oppression and colonialism. Remember, while it may be flattering to be chosen by a man who comes from a conquering race, or a man who comes from a sovereign race, you know what I'm saying, that has wealth or prestige or ruling power, you know, while that can be flattering, because you're used to dealing with impoverished men, understand that a lot of times you're being objectified. you know Understand that men with real power do not need to objectify women. So therefore, they do not have to go to another race, or a race with opposite standards, to be impressive to those women. They are okay with how God made them, and they want a woman who is a reflection of Him, because they want their children to be a reflection of them. So remember, a man who wants his children to look nothing like him, there's something wrong with him mentally. It is very rare for God to put together to put I'm not going to say what God will do. I'm going to say what I'm continuing to say, which is not a man's choice to mate with a woman of another race is 9 times out of 10 a reflection of low moral character. It is not some sign of goodwill. A lot of times it's a reflection of his low moral character. There's very few exceptions where that these people are meant and designed to be together. And the exception is sovereignty uniting, and forming an alliance with another nation. That is the exception. And that is 1%. So, and that a lot of times is not based on love either. So, what I'm saying, warlocks, you have a different responsibility than a witch and a woman, as masculine and as divine masculine. So use it or lose it. So witches, now that I've gotten off of that tangent, it's important to differentiate yourself with how you deal with men. Let me illustrate what I'm talking about when I say be the one that got away, not the one he got to stay. Have you ever been on a date and you're with the guy? He's tall, dark, and handsome, something to that effect. Um, and he seems fun and exciting. And you're out on a date, you're out with him, you're in a public space, and you meet or you run into female friends, or a female that he's friends with, that he knows. She's more beautiful than you are. You can see that she's more attractive than you. She's probably older than you. Still more attractive, more put together than you are. More wiser than you are. More educated than you are. These things are obvious to you. Remember, you're on a date with a tall, dark, and handsome, exciting guy. And you're meeting a female or female friends of his. This female friend of his is clearly not threatened by you. So you do not get the impression that they've slept together. You do not get the impression that she wants to sleep with him. So now you admire her even more because she's a female who's not competing with you. And you're used to females competing with you because you're beautiful enough to be with a guy who's tall, dark, handsome, and attractive, which means you're confident enough in your looks to think you deserve a guy who's tall, dark, handsome, and exciting. All right. But now you admire this woman who you see is more advanced than you, more put together than you. Like I said, probably older than you, more attractive than you. Um, and now you admire her because she's not competing with you. So now you're interested in why she doesn't want what you have. You're interested in why she knows a tall, dark, and handsome guy as beautiful as she is, and she's not interested in him the way you are. Now, this female friend of his who's not competing with you, now you're more interested in her and why she is not with him when they know each other and could have easily made a good couple, and you're wondering why didn't he hook up with her? All right. I don't know who's watching, how many people are watching, but comment or like if what I just illustrated is you or has been you. I want to paint the other picture. you're out you're out on the town, you're out socializing, you run into a guy, a friend of yours, or a man who you rejected, turned down, or broke up with because he wasn't good enough, he didn't meet your standards. um or you knew that he was a player when he asked you out, and you weren't interested in them because you know, and you've seen him with several women. You've either seen him date several women, or you see that he's constantly around several women and does not know how to commit or set boundaries with women, or that he's an insecure man because he has to keep several women around him to publicly feel important and publicly feel powerful. um you run into him and he's with yet another woman. I'm a guy just listening. Thank you. Welcome. Let me know if you have any questions. Back to the illustration. So now, again, you're you're a beautiful woman out on town, probably single, but you're out on the town socializing, and you run into a guy that you rejected, turned down, or broke up with because he was a player, and because he just did not meet the standards that you had for a relationship. He did not meet the standards that you have for somebody to take you off of the market. Okay? So you're still out beautiful, attractive, socializing. And you run into him and he's with yet another woman, another different woman, because every time you see him, he's with a different woman. And now he's with another woman, even younger, and dressing even more attention seeking than the last. Um, and you say hi, and he's hugging you, and he's excited to see you, and he's introducing you to his date or his new female friend, you know, and he's praising you and he's big upping you and he's telling her about how amazing you are. You know, and she's polite and you're polite and you continue to socialize, you know, and his date is looking at you like, wow, what a beautiful woman, almost looking at you like she wants to be more like you. So I hope I painted two pictures, and I want witches listening to this to decide if either one of those is you and which one it is you. And I want you to decide what type of woman you're going to be in your witchhood. All right? I want you to decide to differentiate yourself from other women. And I want you to decide to not join a harem spiritually, socially, communally, tribally, or emotionally. Do not join a harem with weak women who need the validation of being with a tall, dark, and handsome, attractive man who's too dumb and insecure to marry a beautiful woman who, you know, is equal to him. It's one thing for a short, ugly, unattractive, feeble, something wrong with him, he can't get women type of guy to constantly want to be seen in public with a bunch of women to present the image that he's powerful as a man who's actually attractive and doesn't have to try to attract women. But if you're already tall, dark, and handsome, and you're keeping women around you instead of setting boundaries with women to be with one woman, there's something wrong with you. That's a level of insecurity that should not happen in a man who is attractive. And so when I'm telling witches to be the one that got away, not the one he got to stay, you don't want to be the woman who's on the date and you're seeing that you're on a date with a guy who couldn't keep a good woman or could not get a woman who's better than you, who you see has higher standards in life than you because she looks better than you, because she's pouring more into her looks, that she is more put together than you, because she has enough dignity or she has enough class and she has enough confidence to go out on her own and attract a man. And she has enough confidence to not be all over some dude just because he's tall, dark, and handsome. She has enough dignity and self-respect for her. You don't want to be the chick who's on the date with the dude who couldn't land the top-notch woman who you admire. You don't want to be on a date with leftovers, with some trash, or you know what I'm saying. And it's not, and I'm talking to witches because women don't mind picking up trash. Women don't mind being on a date with a well-known player, with someone who's clearly a player, with someone who clearly a woman who has dignity and self-respect has rejected or said, you know what, I'm not going to associate myself with you in a certain way to ruin my reputation because I'm on the market and I want to be in a respectable relationship, not with some man who collects women, you know, like what is something cheap that people collect, like a notch on their belt, you know what I'm saying, that collect women like toys, you know. um you don't want to And what I'm trying to say is, if you are on a date with a man and you are confronted with the reality that he didn't he that he didn't meet the standards of certain women, and that you're, that when if you're confronted with that, like, okay, these women who I admire didn't want him. I don't want to be on this side of this man. I want to be on the side of the man where the women who I want to be like, where the women who I want to look like when I'm that age, when I'm that wisdom, the women who have a degree that you have a career position, a job title that you admire, who have a body that you admire, who have beauty and sex appeal that you admire, who have social status that you admire. You don't want to be on the wrong side of a man. You want when you see a woman who you admire, and you see she's on the side of she's you're in and you're with a man that she knows, and you see she's not interested in that man whatsoever at all, and he just loves her and admires her so much, and she's not interested in him that way. You have to decide as a woman, what side of that man do you want to be on? Do you want to be on the side of that man where you're with powerful women who don't see him as a proper mate because he doesn't have the masculinity, the self-control that should come with being tall, dark, and handsome? Because he does not, because there's something about him that does not match her swag, all right? That does not meet her standards. Do you want to be on the side of that man where you're his plaything? Or do you want to be on the side of that man where you are the woman where he respects because you did not accept him at his worst? Or you did not accept him when he had no respect for women? Because you did not accept him because because you did not accept him because he didn't meet your standards, and he now respects you. You as a witch, it is your job to maintain your dignity and be on the side of men where you are admired by that man, and he does not see you as a plaything because you rejected him and you put him in his place when he tried to play in your face and tried to be with you when he didn't meet your standards, or when you did give him a chance, or you did date him, or you were in a relationship with you and he fumbled it, he played around, and you set a boundary and you didn't go back on that because you realized he didn't like you, he don't like himself, and he does not know what to do with a beautiful, powerful woman. You have to decide as a witch to be on the side of a man where you are respected by him instead of with him and his toy, his object. So be the one that got away. Be the one that when you run into a dude in public, he's excited to see you and he's introducing you and he's giving this great presentation on how wonderful of a woman you are because you had enough dignity to put him in his place when he tried to play in your face about you and your sexuality and who and what you do with your womanhood. Be the one that got away. Be the one that he respects. And I want to explain something, why that man respects you for not being with him when he wants shit, for not being with him when he was a player, for not being with him when he didn't have a house and a car, sexual self-control, maturity, a career, all the things that would meet your standard as a woman to take you off the market. Or whatever meets your standard as a woman. It does not have to be the material things I just mentioned, especially if you're a witch. It could just be he needs to be a martial artist. He needs to be physically fit. He needs to be in a leadership position. He needs to know how to kill. He needs to know how to build. Because I'll tell you one thing, women, you want to go for a man who does physical labor. Because you women, you get with these men who have some form of financial stability, but he's at some type of desk job, or he's at a job where he's not standing up all day or doing something actually physical all day, and you wonder why he's lazy around the house and all this stuff, you'd want to get with a man who's in a leadership position or does physical labor, not just a man who is financially stable but who will still make your life miserable because he's gonna get fat, stupid, lazy, weaponize incompetence, and then cheat on you, just to make you feel like it's your fault that he's really not a man. He just makes a certain amount of money. And that's the problem with a lot of the sprinkle shit, is that when you go after a man for money, you're letting the universe know that you're a lazy heifer and you're too lazy to work, and you're really going to attract a man who's too lazy to be attractive. So he's going to make money to buy you like an object. And you guys don't think sprinkle is about hoeing, but a lot of you all, you've never been attractive enough to really know these things about men, and you want to go gold dig without knowing what really comes with that. You think it's cute, and it's not. You are selling yourself sexually to the highest bidder, and the highest bidder is usually has the least manhood. That's why he has money to get you, because his masculinity and his gifted attractiveness is it can't get a woman of quality. So as a witch, it's important that you differentiate yourself by being the one that got away. Do not be the one who needs validation from a man so bad that you ignore his sexual deviancy, his lack of self-control, his inability to set boundaries with women, which a lot of times, 9 times out of 10, if he's surrounded by a bunch of women, 9 times out of 10, something is going on with him and his mother. And he is not ever going to leave the nest, really, that he's constantly looking to be mothered. And this is exactly why the man respects you when you get away and you reject him when he doesn't meet a standard. This is why he loves you and he respects you more than the women who he goes after that look good enough for him to parade around to make him look good, but he's objectifies them and he probably doesn't really like them that much. Unless they're actually really talented or can do something for him, that will make him look even better. The reason he respects you is because a man understands a woman who can say no to him when he's not meeting her standards. You're sending the message that you are not in survival mode. You're sending the message that I don't need you. I'm not in survival mode and I don't need you to help me survive. Therefore, I'm going to reject you because I can be choosy because I am not impoverished. When a woman rejects a man, she is sending the signal to that man that she's not poor. She's not in survival mode. She's not poor. She's not impoverished. And she's also sending the message to that man that even if I am poor, I am wise and smart enough or skilled enough to make money that is better for me than you are as a man. She's sending a message to him that my intellect is higher than yours. So, no, I'm going to reject you because my intellect will allow me to survive without you, and your intellect will be a liability to my lifestyle. That's what happens when a woman rejects a man. She's giving him the message that she's not poor and she's not dumb. So, when you, as a woman, take a man who got rejected by a woman that he found to be beautiful and powerful or whatever, when you get with a man who has been rejected, you are sending the message that you are in survival mode in comparison to that other woman. You're sending the message that I'm in survival mode. I can't be choosy. So even though you don't set boundaries with women, don't haven't expressed financial stability, have not made a real commitment to me, or even though your character is not where it should be, whatever, I'm still going to accept you and take you and date you and be seen in public with you because I don't have a better option. That's the message you're sending. You're sending that message to that man that I don't have better options than the woman who rejected you. So what happens is when a man sees you as a woman who's in survival mode and cannot afford to reject him, or who is not smart enough to do better than him, what he subconsciously is going to feel is that you're using him to survive because you're too poor or dumb to survive on your own, like that other woman who he liked that had better options than him. So when you send a message to the man that I will accept you at your worst, or I will accept you when you're not the best for me, or when you are not good to women, and I will still put up with being mistreated by you, or abused by you, or misused by you. You're telling him I'm in survival mode, and he's going to feel you're using him for whatever resources he's providing, which is probably his looks. So he's probably going to feel like, well, even though she's attractive for me to be seen in public, she's insecure. So she needs the validation of my looks to feel confident. So he's going to feel that, or he's going to feel like you're using him for money, for resources. And when a man feels like you need him and that you're using him because you cannot do better than him, he's not going to feel like you love him. He feels like the woman who said no, I'm not going to take you at your best. You have to do better to be with me. You have to look better to be with me. You have to make more to be with me. You have to have better moral character to be with me. You have to know how to fight to be with me. He's looking at that woman as a woman who loved him enough to challenge him to be a better man. He's looking at that woman as she did not need me. She challenged me to be better. So that's why you don't when if you're that first picture I painted and you're on a date with a guy and you run into this female friend of his that you feel like, why didn't they hook up? She's attractive, he's attractive, they both are in this environment, they both have these same interests. Why is he with me? And when he knows this woman or all these other beautiful, powerful women who are in his arena, in his workforce, in this social circle of his. He knows all these beautiful, powerful women in his social circle, and none of them wanted to be with him. None of them are married to him. If you're on a date with a guy and you recognize that, and he's introducing these women, and oh, she's the best woman in the world, and she's such a great, powerful this, and oh my God, you got to meet her. She's so beautiful. And all these women are wonderful, and just like he's saying, and none of them are threatened by you, and none of them are acting like they want to fuck him. You gotta, that's what I'm saying, be the one that got away, not the one he got to stay. because the reason that he's so impressed and in love with these women who don't see him as some sexual object or whatever is because he doesn't feel like they are, because he feels um real, he's feeling a real sense of love because he got chastised by that woman. And when you discipline, you are expressing godly love. God says, do not spare your child the rod. And God disciplines and punishes the nation of Israel because he loves us. And he wants us to do better and be better. And when someone disciplines you and tells you the truth and is honest with you, you feel a sense of love. You don't feel that that person is trying to manipulate you and get something out of you. That's like having a friend who tells you that outfit doesn't look good, or who just tells you a harsh truth. And now you respect that friend because you're like, they did not let me go out here looking crazy. And when a woman accepts you at your best, or when a woman turns the other way, when you're a player, when you're a mama's boy, when you're broke, when you have bad moral character, poor sexual hygiene, poor sexual control, and when a woman turns the other way because she needs some validation of being seen with you because you're tall, dark, and handsome, or because you got a social status or whatever, um, you know, you're when that it's like that woman is lying to herself and lying to you about who you are by saying, yeah, I'll be with you. You know that there's an ulterior motive for her wanting to be with you, because it can't be because you're a good man. She's not with you because you're a good boyfriend. She's not with you because you're a good husband. She's not with you because you're a good man. And you know that. And when you're with a man who's not a good man, what are you doing? What are you trying to get out of it? What validation do you need that I got the guy, or that I chosen, or that out of all these women I'm the one who gets to be called his girlfriend, wife, or whatever? All you're doing is clowning. You're making yourself look stupid, and um you're validating his fuckery instead of chastising it. And so therefore he's not going to feel love from you. He's going to feel, okay, she is using me for something, and she's not with me because I'm good. So he's going to be looking at you like something's wrong with you. So what happens is there's no trust. So ladies, witches, do not be out here like these average human women who don't care about how they're treated in a relationship, and who don't care about the masculinity of their man, who just want to say that they have a man. Don't be one of these 7 women grabbing hold of one man saying we will wear our own mantle and eat our own bread. Just let us call us by your name to take away our reproach. Don't join a harem. Don't be with a player out here who collects women, um, because he doesn't have to respect these women because they just want to be able to associate theirself with some dude who's tall, dark, and handsome. They just want to be able to say that they got a black dude. And that goes for black women and white women alike. There are too many women out here who are desperate to get a black man. To prove that she's this, to prove that she can compete with the original woman, or to prove that she's a black woman who's so much better than other black women because she's not, because she got a black man to be with her, or to prove, you know what I'm saying, just, you know, or just trying to prove that you can compete with the beauty of black women. So you want to get with a black man. You know what I'm saying? There's too much of that, and there's too much of women throwing themselves at men because they look good, and they have no moral character at all. They just look good, or they look good enough for these women to say, I want to be seen with him. I want the validation of being chosen by him because I need to feel better than other women for some reason. Because when I go out in public, I don't get enough validation for how I look naturally. So I need to get with a man who looks good because people don't compliment me on my beauty. Why? Because you're not beautiful. That's why people are not complimenting you, because you're not beautiful. Okay? People are not giving you the validation you're looking for because you are not what you think that you are. And people need to start really, really recognizing these things in themselves. And until you recognize and look in the mirror, you're not going to be able to change those things, and you're not going to be able to start making better decisions that will give you better results in life. And um which is, you know, another way, uh, along the lines of women throwing themselves at men because they look good. Be the one that got away, not the one he got to stay. There are men who trap women with babies. And so do not be afraid of being a single baby mama, and stay with a man who you realize trapped you with a baby. And once you got pregnant, or once you guys got in a committed marriage or relationship, he flipped the script, and all that manhood went away, and he's no longer meeting your standards. So this can happen when a woman is actually got trapped by a guy with a baby, or got convinced to marry a guy and then he changed after marriage because he was just trying to trap you. This can also happen when, after years of marriage, or after a woman raising kids, um that she probably didn't want, because I find that this only really happens with women who really didn't want the kids. This always happens with the women who marry for money and are really too lazy to live life on their own. They become a mother, then the kids are grown, and they did their job, they did their duty, and now they don't love their husband anymore and they want to live their life. They never really wanted to be a mother. They probably never really liked their husband to begin with. They probably just got with him for the social status, and got with him for the ease of having a husband and not having to work. And while I don't, while I see this happening a lot with these lazy women and women, I will say this. It will also happen with women like this too, who, after years of marriage and more, it's not really the marriage, but it's usually the motherhood that gets to the women, where after 15 years of marriage, or whatever, to 20 years of marriage, now she wants to be single because she's outgrown her husband. Um it really doesn't take 15 years to outgrow your husband. A lot of that is exhaust from being a mother that you probably never really wanted to be, because you would never get sick of being a mother if you ever wanted to be one. You know, and you wouldn't get sick of your husband if you ever really loved him. But what happens is with these women who do marry for money, and then they fall out of love after the children are grown and after they've done their duty, and they, you know, um that can also happen, where a woman can outgrow the man, and where the man is no longer meeting her standards. um it can happen a lot of times in a marriage where the the man stops meeting the standards of that woman. And in that case, or in the case where, as a woman, you got trapped with a baby by a man, or a man manipulated you into marriage when he did not intend to be the husband that you expected him to be. um when women stay in these relationships and get burnt out, you outgrow that man really quickly. And so for a witch, I would rather be the one that got away. Don't wait 15 years down the line and want to divorce your husband because the kids are grown, and this and that, and then want to get out here in the dating world, when you're in your 50s, and are completely out of touch with dating. Be the one that chose to be a single mother, or be the one that chose to co-parent, and stay single, and you live your life for you, instead of allowing that man to suck you up because he trapped you with a baby and you chose to take responsibility for it. Be the one that got away. If you recognize that your man is manipulated you, or that he trapped you and then changed, don't be the one that stayed and let a man drain you, trying to be righteous, or trying to not be socially awkward by being a single mother, or not be socially awkward by being divorced, and maybe you're Catholic, or maybe you're in a strong religious environment where divorce is really looked upon, and you don't want to be that one that got divorced. You know what I'm saying? Be the one that got away if you realize you got trapped by an abusive narcissist. Be the one that got away. Don't be the one who he drained you of all your years, and it takes you 20 years to get back to yourself and realize that your community didn't give a fuck about you, your church didn't give a fuck about you, your family probably didn't give a fuck about you, which is why you ended up with a narcissist, because people who come from good families don't end up with narcissists. Only people who come from abuse, are conditioned for abuse, and are ostracized and thrown to the wolves, end up with narcissists. People who are protected by their parents don't end up with a narcissist. All right? People who are protected by a community, people who are properly loved and looked after and protected, don't end up with abused. People who are unprotected end up with narcissist vampires. So as a witch, keep your spiritual protection up. Do your protection rituals. Use your salt. Use the black pepper, sage. Charge your gemstones and carry them around with you. Don't just keep your gemstones at your altar, and create shrines to other entities. Carry your spiritual weapons with you and stay protected, and keep that empowerment that gives you the ability to say no. I have ancestral protection. I have Holy Spirit protecting me from things that are draining and unclean and demonic, and things that are not evenly yoked with me. Because another thing, another way that men keep women, and you want to be the one that got away, is setting a boundary. You don't want to be the one who, you're still single, or maybe even you're not single, but your ex, or a man who you've been with sexually, can publicly degrade you. And you don't want to publicly degrade yourself by throwing yourself at a man publicly who's not your husband. You know what I'm saying? Or you know what I'm saying? You don't want to make sexual comments, or make it obvious that you've had sexual interaction with a man who's not your boyfriend or husband. If that's your ex, or if that's a man who got to have sex with you without commitment, you don't want to keep flirting and making flirtatious comments, and in public he can flirt with you and touch your ass, and you guys have these hugs that make it obvious to everyone that you guys had sex, because that's degradation. And as a woman, when you allow a man to send the message publicly that he's had you and can have you again without marrying you, When a man can publicly degrade you by showing everyone that he's had you before and he can have you again if he wants to, and you allow it by throwing yourself, by flirting with him, by competing with a woman that he may be in public with, or a woman that he is dating, or by competing with a woman that he's now married to, by sexually flirting with that man in public so as to compete with her, to show everyone that he's had you already, even though he's married someone else, that he could have you again, because you have no respect for yourself or the institute of marriage, you know, or other women. um don't be the one that got away, that sets a boundary that people cannot tell whether you had sex with him or not, because he fumbled it when he had it, and you set a boundary, and he's not going to disrespect you. Don't be out here still flirting and making flirtatious comments and still allowing a man to degrade you sexually like he had you before and can have you again. Because what he's doing is he's preparing and he's keeping you around emotionally for when he knows he fucks it up with the women that he's going to play in their face as long as they let him. He's a man who will not set a boundary with you and cut you off to have a healthy relationship with a new woman who he's going to respect, because he has no respect for women. Number one. Number two, you're going to be what he goes back to after he mistreats other women who let him play in their face. So he's planning on manipulating a good woman with dignity out of her dignity and self-respect. And he's planning on her getting enough dignity and self-respect and getting sick of his player ways. And he's planning on that. So he's keeping you around. So after he goes and plays more games with more women, he can bring his community dick back to you. That's why he is okay with you continuing to flirt and everything when you guys are not together. That's why he's okay with you letting the world know that he's had you already. Don't be that woman. Be the one that got away, not the one that he got to stay. Don't be out here throwing yourself at men who've had you before and didn't want to wife you. Don't be throwing yourself at men. I don't care how good the sex was and how memorable it was. He doesn't like you. That's why you're not together. So why send messages publicly on social media or at events and things that he's had me before and he can have me again if he's not trying to be with you? Why let everyone know that you've been had by this player who collects women? Why do that to yourself? If you're a witch, you are to differentiate yourself. No human woman desperate behavior. No need for validation behavior. You are to be respected by men at all times. You're to demand respect. You are to carry an aura as if Ogun, or, if you're white, as if the Archangel Michael, or Ogun, or you got to carry yourself as if God's personal archangels are guarding you at all times. You have to know that you are the temple of sexuality, and you have to hold yourself like that, because human women are here to procreate, and they don't care about dignity. They need validation for what they are not, which is a witch. They are not enchanting. They are not beautiful. They're not sexy, and they're not trying to be. That's why they will let men mistreat them, because they need validation that they are something that they're not, which is a witch. You as a witch are actually sexy. You actually have something to protect. You're not here for some man's legacy. You are here for God's. So you need to behave that way at all times. And you need to be the woman who's okay with being single and enjoying your single life and enjoying the freedom of being single and dealing with the type of men that you choose to deal with, instead of being trapped by some dude and who doesn't like you, who doesn't respect you, who's going to ruin your body, ruin your life, probably ruin your career and sabotage all these things, ruin your skill set, turn you into a mother, and all this other type of stuff. That is not anything for why you're really, really here, for the glory that you're really here for, or just for the purpose. But don't let a man take away your glory as a witch. Let him respect you if he's not evenly yoked with you. But be the one that got away. Don't be the younger, dumber woman who he's impressing when he's at his worst. When you recognizing that he has a bunch of women, a bunch of women around him, or has had, and he is not mature enough to be with a good woman. You people forgot about being a player. Players, they these the play start. I don't want to say it started in the 90s, but I just think it was promoted heavily in the 90s, and people forgot that some men are just players and they play games with women. They do not take women seriously. And you don't want to waste your time with a player. You want to be with a man who is serious about manhood, not a man who's playing games until kingdom come. Because if he's playing with God, he's playing games with God, and what's worse, that is playing with the devil. And what a lot of humans don't realize is a witch is that when you dealing with a witch, you playing with both. We have access that y'all don't comprehend. And so not only do you be playing with the Holy Spirit, and as a witch, you got to understand, don't let these men play around with the Holy Spirit, and also don't let them play around with the access that you have to the devil and to bind the devil. Because when human women get access to the devil, they start worshiping him and doing a lot of weird, asking him for all these powers that God didn't give them. But you as a witch, you have a different access to the devil. Very different access to devils and demons and all such entities. So don't let these player men who don't have any respect for God or women or anything, don't let them play with you, because you as a witch, you're specifically here to elevate the female circumstance, to elevate the female psychology, to elevate the feminine understanding. That's why I say a witch and a warlock have different responsibilities toward masculinity and femininity. That's why the worst example a warlock can set is to elevate a woman of another race. You're not elevating God gave you a certain gift and a certain heritage, and you're throwing it away by marrying a woman of another heritage. You're throwing it away. You're saying this heritage is better than the one that God gave me to represent and be sovereign over. That's the worst example that a warlock could set, is having a wife of a heritage that is not the one God gave him. And as a witch, there's a lot of bad examples that you can set. But being with a man who does not love you and who does not respect you and who does not like you and who doesn't really like women, being with a man whose purpose is opposite of your purpose as a witch, to elevate the female experience, being with a man who's here to degrade the female experience, is such a bad example. So as a witch, please, you all differentiate yourself. Be the one that got away. I want to do another upload on insecure and to kind of psychoanalyze Insecure, and also from a spiritual perspective for Black women in dating. But until then, I want to use the example of Insecure, and this is a spoiler alert. If you have not watched Insecure by Issa Rae, and I don't know if it's on Netflix or I believe it's on HBO. The series about and I don't want to call it the Black Sex in the City, but it's kind of like a dark comical series about Black women and dating, and it follows Issa Rae and three of her friends, and they all have different dating lives. And Issa Rae is a dark skinned, natural, kinky haired, shapely Black woman, and it goes through the dark horror that Black women experience in dating just because we're not white, and also a lot of times of some Black women not having access or not demanding access to a better caliber of men, which can look like other races of men, or it just can look like men in a different tax bracket or a different environment, or in a different country, which does not mean a different race necessarily, but men in a different nation. Um, and Issa Rae, it starts out with her cheating on the man that she's with because he's not meeting her standards, or just, for whatever reason. I'm not going to justify cheating, but what I'm saying is I want to illustrate what happens when you're with a man who does not meet your standards, especially for Black witches. I want to use Insecure as an example. Starts with her cheating on her man. It ends with her being with that man after he gets a woman pregnant, has a baby out of wedlock by another woman, and has a lot of encounters with non-Black women. And after Issa Rae goes through, years of dating and this and this and that, she chooses to be back with the guy that she cheated on. She chooses to be back with the guy who did not meet her standards, to where she stepped outside the relationship with a man who had more masculinity than her man. She ends up back with him after he's had a baby by another woman. So now, she's back with a guy who she essentially deemed unfit, or who she left. Um, and because at the time that she cheated on him, he was living with her and didn't have a job. So remember, witches, especially Black witches, remember this. You get with these men who don't meet your standards, you're just going to be thirsty for a man who does anyway. And that's where cheating does happen and start, because you're with a guy just because you need the validation of having a boyfriend, or sometimes you just need the access to constant sex, in which you don't have to be living and be taken off the market by a man just to have sex. But it's really that you need the validation of not being single. So you're with a guy who doesn't meet your standards, or you stay with him after you realize he doesn't meet your standards. And she hold on, I'm gonna plug this guy in. And after all that, and after years of dealing with men and dating, and experiencing the horrors of dating while Black, she goes back to a man. She goes back to this man after he now has a baby by another woman. So this is an example for Black witches about be the one that got away, not the one he got to stay. Don't And this is for witches, not women, because for a woman, who needs validation and who doesn't want to be a single Black woman and doesn't want to be a stereotype and doesn't want to be alone and who can't be alone and who, that may be a good deal. But as a witch, don't you dare be with a man who got a baby by another woman. You're not here to be some man's plaything. Let men lay in the bed that they make for themselves. Don't let him play around with you and make it easier for him to raise his baby. Let him, he wanted to make a baby. Let him deal with how hard it is. Stop making it easy on these men who choose to be fathers instead of husbands, who lay around with women who they know want to trap them, who lay these player men lay around with women who they know are competitive. It takes an extremely competitive woman to get pregnant by a man just to take him off the market for other women. She's psychotic. And what you don't, this is what I'm saying, stop dealing with these men who are players and who lay around with these psychotic women who get pregnant and become baby mamas and trap him with babies and this, and that, or try to trap him. Don't, and he's still a player. Don't let him come play in your face. Don't be like Issa Rae, who left a man who really wants shit, want masculine. So you sleep with a man who's darker and more masculine and more talented or more gruff or whatever, just to get some sex that you really feel you'll enjoy because you're with a man who's masculine, who's meeting your standard, and just to end back up with some dude who now is more of a loser because he let some crazy bitch have his baby. You as a witch that I please be single instead of helping some idiot raise some bastard by some bitch. You as a witch are not here for that. And a lot of you black women, you need to stop picking up trash. Don't be with no man with kids by other women. There are a lot of men out here, even after 60, who didn't waste their life by having a baby by some bitch. It's one thing if a man wife died, divorce. Even still, I really feel like you don't even want to pick up half of these divorced men, because why the fuck is you divorced? Because you ain't shit. I promise you guys, a failed relationship is the number one sign that someone ain't shit. And you guys don't realize how many people out here are genuinely single. Not single and fucking around, not single with kids by somebody else. Single, being healthy, pursuing goals. You don't have to pick up someone else's trash. And as a witch, I urge you, stop getting with men who are connected to human women, because all they do is they take the energy you leave on them and they bring it back to these raggedy human bitches that he's all gonna bring your energy back to some bitch who is not on your level. And he's going to start to elevate her just to feel better than you. Because I promise you, any man that sleeps with you and doesn't marry you does not like you. He wants to see you fail in life. And if you don't understand that, the heartbreak you experience from realizing that you got played should make you understand that anybody who breaks your heart doesn't like you. Anyone who likes you will not break your heart. I promise you. Anyone who likes you and cares about you will never do something to hurt you. They cannot accidentally hurt you. They cannot on purpose hurt you. Someone who loves you. And I promise you this, because what will happen is they will apologize with their actions. And if they find out that they did something to hurt you, they will never do it again. But nobody who loves you will have sex with you and flirt with someone else and then sleep with someone else and then marry someone else and be with someone else. If a man has a baby by another woman and is still out here dating, he hates women. I promise you, he does not like women altogether, period. And he's probably too stupid to be with a woman if he let some bitch trap him with a baby and take him off the market. Do not be out here picking up demonic, unclean trash. as a witch. Differentiate yourself. Stay clean, stay pure, and stay child free. Stop having babies. If you are not married, don't have a baby. Please get on birth control. Please take your pills. Take pills. Take the pills. Whatever pills you have to take to be child free. But do not let a man ruin your life. There are too many men out here who will marry you and invest in you and treat you right and who will love you. As a witch, you need to be with a man who loves you and a man who you also love. If you all are not in love and if you all are not keeping a nation together through your marriage, there's no point in being with someone and letting someone who you're not evenly yoked with ruin your life. There's nothing wrong with you on your own. You can be out here, you can have sex with whoever you want. But you don't have to let a sexual urge take away your dignity. And honestly, control your sexual urge if it's going to take away your dignity. There's no dignity in Issa Rae getting with some dude who had a baby on who had a baby on her. With her having such low self-esteem and such bad experiences that you're going to go back to a man that you cheated on, who took you back because now he got a baby by a woman who he doesn't want to be with, and took you back because he knows that no other woman in her right mind is going to deal with a man like that, who lets some dumb church woman trap him with a baby because she needs to compete and control. And that's the other thing. When you reject a man, you're sending the message that I don't need to control you. Men know when a woman is trying to control him. And when a man feels that a woman is so desperate to be with him and she wants to control him, he feels like he's being mothered. And these women out here will be with a man and stay with a man to control him. They don't care that they're being cheated on or mistreated or disrespected or whatever. They just want to control the narrative that they are the wife. They're the ones who have the say so. And all these other women who he does have, who she is in a harem with, are beneath her. And when a man is like, man, she needs to control me that bad that she's going to degrade herself to being my wife, even though I got all these other women and I'm going to keep cheating on her and being a player. But she's going to degrade herself just because controlling me is more important than her being properly loved. Controlling me is more important than her living her best life. Controlling me is more important than her living a better life. Being up under me and controlling me is better than her going out into the world and discovering something better and discovering something other than me. So when a man sees that you are obsessed with him, the way a mother becomes obsessed with controlling her son and making sure no other woman has her son, and sabotaging every relationship that her son has with a woman because she's obsessed with her own son. That's what the message you're sending when you decide to be with a man who's a player. And you decide just because you want to be the one who got him. Don't be the controlling crazy woman who has to be the one that says, "Yeah, I'm one notch above all the other hoes in the harem." Be the one that got away. Not the one who don't got nothing better to do but stay. As a witch, I'm letting you know right now, you have something better to do. God's work. You have a lot better to do than sit up under some man and become a fat, ugly, average, hateful, bitter, competitive, jealous mother who can't stand to see gifted women and out here throwing yourself at a man just cause he's attractive and you need validation for being something that you are not. You have better things to do. You have power, you have rituals to perform, you have places to cleanse and purify, you have unclean spirits to exorcise, you got Jezebel to bind, okay? You know what I'm saying? You got lessons to teach. You don't have time to chase around men who don't like women. So if you're a witch, I want you to start teaching other women what you've learned about men, and get women away from the sprinkle movement, and get women into a real sense of intuition and real womanhood power that has nothing to do with a man at all. Sacred femininity that has nothing to do with a man at all. The sprinkle movement talks about is about centering men. It's about making a man the end all be all of your life, and how you survive. And as a witch, your power does not come from a man. And that is the biggest and probably the only difference between a witch and a woman. A woman, all of her validation comes from being chosen by a man. All of her power comes from a man. Everything that she's here for is for the man. As a witch, you are different. Your power comes directly from God. You do not need to be covered by a man to be of substance. You do not have to be impregnated with man to be of substance. You do not have to be validated by a man to be of substance. That is why you are a witch instead of a woman. And you are not to be out here behaving like a woman whose entire mission in life is to get a man. You are not female, human, woman. You are witch. Decenter men and be powerful and start centering God. I promise you, you will see the results. And you will start to see women admiring you the way a woman should admire a witch and look to a witch for empowerment instead of trying to compete with us. You do not be out here behaving like human women and making them think that they are any sense of competition. You are to differentiate yourself so much that she respects you just as much as the fool she's with. Differentiate yourself. And you demand a warlock. You demand a warlock out of life. You demand that a man be as powerful as you. And you use your gifts to attract and allure powerful men. If sex is on your agenda. But don't you dare be out here dealing with fools who are not equal to you. A warlock has sexual self-control. A warlock has no need to degrade a woman ever for any reason. A warlock has no reason to demean a woman and to sleep with her and then sleep with another woman to make her feel like dirt. A warlock will never do those things. A warlock is not controlled by his sexual urges. You have no business sleeping with a man who is, if you are a witch. Because you're going to start behaving like a human woman if you do. All right? So that is my, and don't you dare do some crazy black slave shit like take some other woman's trash or take some man that you rejected and he done had a baby with some bitch, and now you want to help him raise the bastard that's not even yours and shit, and like y'all a happy family and everything. No, you don't associate with no woman who competed with you and had a baby with your ex. You don't associate with no woman who knew you, who is a part of your same social circle, and knew you dated somebody and chose to sleep with him, chose to date him, chose to fuck him, chose to flirt with him, chose to go on a date with him, chose to have dinner with him, chose to have coffee with him, chose to go on a walk in a fucking park with him. I don't care. You as a witch, you don't ever associate yourself with a woman who shows you that she was jealous of you and wants to take something that you have. You don't associate with your enemy. Once a woman shows you that she's your enemy, because your friend will never do that. Your admirer will never do that. Your accolade will never do that. Your follower, a real follower, like your disciple, will never do that. Only your enemy will steal from you. Only your enemy will take something that is yours. So don't you ever associate yourself by staying connected to some man who had a baby with a woman who knew you. And so many of you black women love staying friends with your sisters, cousins, girlfriends, classmates, college roommates, all these women who slept with your boyfriend and slept with your husband and slept with the man you were dating while you were dating him. And you like to kiki and be giggle with all of these raggedy bitches who slept with your man and got pregnant by him. And y'all back and forth getting pregnant with the same nigga. You guys do that nasty fucking slave tribal shit. And it's not cute. And you as a witch, you are not to be doing that. Don't be out here twerking in moon circles with these nasty black ape bitches with no sexual self-control, who want to do all this yoga, twerking, black slave bullshit. And all they doing is acting like slave mammies who can't do nothing but get pregnant by the same nigga. You stay as far away from that Jezebel shit as possible. You disassociate yourself with any man who shows you he don't even like you because he chose someone else. Let him sleep in the bed he made. Let him be with the bitch he's with. Let him date the ugly women that he chooses to date. I can't stress this enough for witches. Please differentiate yourself. And don't end up like Issa Rae and Insecure. Going back to your vomit. The Bible talks against about dogs that go back to their vomit. About putting new wine in old wineskins. About getting cleansed of unclean spirits, and then 7 more demons coming to after the host after it's cleansed. Stop going back to your vomit. Leave people in the dust when they fumble you. Don't let anyone play in your face. Leave them in the exact place they had you fucked up. And don't look back. The Bible talks about Lot's wife looking back turned into a pillar of salt. I don't know how many more messages from the Bible that is finna come through to me to come through to y'all. Be the one that got away, not the one he got to stay. If you stay around with some foolish nigga, you gonna look like a pillar of salt. You gonna look like a pile of vomit. You gonna look like a dog eating his vomit. You gonna look like a demon possessed crazed person who got clean, and then let a legion of 7 more thousand demons come back into you. Now you look stupid. Now you in a harem with all the other. Now you getting possessed by all the demons of all the other bitches he done fucked. I don't know how many Bible verses got to tell you. Don't you go away and you don't look back. What, leave people in the exact spot they had God fucked up. Because you're here for God. You're not here to have no baby for no man like a human woman. And that's why you stay away from these human women who out in public talking loud, doing all this, that, because they are here for a man. And they are so fucking unruly. And when they have no power and they get all their power from Satan, every time you see an ugly woman married, I promise you she's a Satanist. Every time you see interracial relationships, these white women in interracial relationships, that's Satanism. These white men whoremongering black women, energy vampirism. You don't think white people pursuing relationships with African Americans is satanic, and it is. Um, um, because white people with dignity don't do that. They may take black people in who come from a bad situation, and they may give them a better life, but they don't need to fuck us to do it. Um, so please heed these Bible verses about keeping keeping yourself, wash yourself clean, and be the one that got away. Be the woman who, if you run into a guy that you rejected in public, be the woman who don't look like a clown. Be the woman that he respects and that he admires and that he's excited to see, because you give him a sense of love that he's not experiencing with these other women who will join a harem because they have no worth. He's excited to see you because he knows a woman of worth, and all these other women are expendable objects that are using him, and he knows it. So be the one that got away, not the one he got to stay. Don't be the younger woman with this older dude who's been a player, and he pushing 70, still a player, and you're the young chick who needs all the validation. You know what I'm saying? So you're with this old washed up player who can't impress nobody except by parading you around. Don't be clowning yourself out here if you're a witch. Don't let men wield your beauty for you. Be the one that got away. Don't be a human woman who's staying around with a trash of a man for validation. Know your worth. And the first red flag you see, change lanes. The first red light you see, stop, switch lanes, change directions. Don't talk. You don't talk about a red flag. Is not something you talk about. It's not something you talk through. It's not something you have a conversation about and work around. And you don't do that with red flags. A red flag is a red light, and you change direction. The moment somebody shows you they got mental disorders, which is a spiritual demon that allows them to not be civilized. And it is completely uncivilized for a man to collect women sexually. It's uncivilized. It's savage. So as a woman, do not associate yourself with men who are savage. Associate yourself with a civilized, educated warlock with some class and with real power that he can demonstrate to you. And a man who has no problem defending your honor in public. Don't be with a man who does not deserve your beauty. Every time you see a man with an ugly, out of shape woman, he is letting you know he cannot fight. And he's broke. And the rest of his life, he's going to experience poverty and misery because he chose a woman that is a reflection of poverty and misery. Take care of yourself, because how you show up in life is what you get out of life. And you want to show up in life out of shape, bad attitude, not looking your best, not speaking with authority, not enunciating your words, not walking with upright posture, you're going to get exactly that. And then and when you do get everything that you put in life, and it's anything less than sexy, you're just going to call it old age, when all it is poor decisions. And I'm sick of people calling their poor decisions old age. Stop it. Stop disrespecting wisdom by making your poor decisions old age. It's not old age. It was poor decision making. Poor, impoverished, lowly, low class decision making. Decide now what God you're going to serve. Because your body, your voice, your face, your bank account, your social circle, your children are all going to look like the God you serve. But most importantly, so will your wife, if you're a man. And for ladies, for witches, your beauty is a reflection of the God you serve. The things that you create and share with other people using your gifts is a reflection of the God that you serve too. So I hope this message gets to people, and I hope it makes sense. And I hope you understand, coming out of a full moon with the moon waning, I just want to bring some revelations. Please start setting boundaries with people and putting them in their place. And do not be a placeholder for a player to come back to you, because you have no dignity and self-respect. I can't stress that enough. Do not have public flirtatious relationships with people you've slept with that have never committed to you. Do not be a public plaything. All right? And and this is just now coming through. Now is a good time to delete your OnlyFans. Now is a good time um um to think about talking about, if you have been a sex worker, now is a good time to think about telling people the downside of it, and telling people why you're now quitting, and telling people the things that have happened to you that make you get out of the sex work trade. Now is a good time to kind of come clean. While we're talking about clean and unclean spirits, now is a time for former sex workers, male and female, to come clean about your experience in the industry or just in the lifestyle, um and let people know what has led you to kind of saving yourself and preserving the rest of your life. in a way that can bring you dignity, or just is just safer or whatever. Now is the time to come clean. There's too many people out here using social media to promote stuff, um instead of helping people actually heal from their trauma. You're promoting lifestyles that are just a reflection of trauma, and you're trying to glamorize it. So I want former sex workers to come clean with their audience, or if you don't have an audience, maybe be brave enough. And again, you don't even have to show your face. Sometimes I show my face, sometimes I don't. So there's a lot of ways to tell your story without revealing your identity. And I want to see more of that. And if you want to send me a message and you want me to tell your story for you, you can hit me up on my website, or you can find me on social media. And also, I'm not sending anyone friendship requests from my Black High Priestess page. So please, um, uh, I think people are starting to duplicate me. I'm not sure, but I'll let my audience know. But I have my website, my Etsy, and Chastity Unique. Just be careful of duplicates. But again, you guys can find me on my BlackHighPriestess.com website. You can message me there. And if you can DM me on Instagram and my Facebook page, Black High Priestess and the Black High Priestess. And I can tell your story if you don't want to reveal your identity. But I want people to start coming clean about the reality, and I want people to start coming clean who are trying the sprinkle movement, and come clean the way Issa Rae and Insecure made a show about the horrors of Black women in dating and what Black women go through. I want people to come clean about your experience in trying the sprinkle, and even if it does work for you, that's fine too. But I want people to talk about the reality of trying a lot of these trends, um, and the difference between trying these social media trends versus actually just getting a job, making money, budgeting, and spending your money on the things that you want to do, the things that you enjoy, versus learning how to start a business and taking a skill, a hobby, or a talent that you have and turning it into a business or another stream of income, versus hypergamy, um, but also doing the work that it would take to genuinely put yourself in a different tax bracket to be able to be, I would say you can talk about, hypergamy and that reality, but again, that's the understanding that I understand a lot of my audience probably are working class or from poverty, are probably not from a certain level of sovereignty where hypergamy is a reality versus the reality of getting a job and affording a certain lifestyle or starting a business or doing things that are realistic for people from slavery. I don't think hypergamy is realistic for people from slavery. I don't care how good you look. I don't think it's realistic. Um, and I'm saying that with a spiritual perspective as well. I think selling your soul is very realistic, and hypergamy can be a way of doing that. But I don't think it's realistic um, for poor Black people to think marrying a rich white person or marrying a Black person who makes six figures. I don't think that's realistic when you come from slavery. And if it is something, I don't think that it's something that I'm necessarily promoting to spiritual people who are not just trying to get pregnant and try or looking for a certain social status where you're not really going to be able to exercise your faith, your spiritual practice. Money is not what spiritualists prioritize or pursue. It is a tool. And I think it's more realistic to find ways to enjoy life than spending your life or your youth or your beauty trying to seduce men with money. I think people need to talk about the reality of what that lifestyle is and versus spending your money, making money and spending it on things that will make you enjoy life and will put you around people who you can enjoy your life with because they're not fucking demon possessed. It's because they're not unclean, because they're moral. So come clean and be the one that got away. And that goes for sex workers too. Be the one that got out of the industry. Don't be um don't be no old player and don't be no old slut, no old hoe. All right? Don't be no you don't want to have no wisdom because you never grew outgrew your need for validation. And that's what I'm saying. Your poor decisions will catch up to you. And when they do, you're going to call it old age when it was your poor decisions. I want you to be 80 and be climbing a mountain like them Sherpas, like them monks. That's what happens when you don't prioritize having a baby and getting with a man because he's rich or being validated by being with someone because they're attractive or you know what I'm saying, when you just give up in life and just get with the ugliest bitch who will sleep with you, you know what I'm saying, because you don't want to, better yourself. You should be 80 climbing Mount Everest. That's what you should be doing when you're 80. You should be fucking climbing Mount Everest like a monk. All right? Or you know what I'm saying, making movies like Tom Cruise, doing stunts like Tom Cruise or Jackie Chan. That's what you should be doing when you're fucking 80. All right? Being in movies and stunts like Helen Mirren. Okay, or playing warrior women like Viola Davis. You know what I'm saying? And looking like Wonder Woman and stuff. That's how you should look, and that's what you should be doing when you're 80. And if you're not, it's because you made poor decisions. I promise you. And and all of your decisions are going to trace back to who you decided to let take you off the dating market and call your husband or wife. So please, witches, by all means, differentiate yourself and learn to say no to a man, no matter how tall, dark, and handsome he is, if his character and his bank account is uh in the negative. Peace and love.